Godfall, a PlayStation 5 launch title game or God flop? Let's find out. Welcome to the night shift. Today we're going to do things a little different. We're going to be doing a review on the PlayStation 5 exclusive title game Godfall. How, you may ask, are we going to be doing this? First things first, we're going to be splitting this into 3 categories: story, audio and visuals, and gameplay, which altogether will give us our numbered score, which will reveal at the end and help us determine whether or not Godfall is worth your hard-earned time and money. But first, let's do a quick synopsis of the game so everyone kind of knows what's going on and has a basic understanding of the game. So in Godfall, you play as the main character Orin. He's, as what I understood it, a mighty general who, with his fellow general and brother Marcos, takes control and leads the world into an era of peace. But that's short-lived because not long after, Marcos betrays Orin. And he starts a 1,000-year war till finally Marcos' forces surround Orin, and Marcos finishes the deal by throwing Orin off of a cliff. But luckily, Orin survived, but now he is alone, weakened, and injured. So now your journey begins as you build your strength back up, find better gear, and find important people who can help you stop Marcos before it's too late. Alright, I think that kind of gives us a gist understanding of what's going on. And also, just before I go on a little further, what it means by Marcos, stopping Marcos before it's too late. Apparently, when Orin and Marcos were ruling together, they had achieved almost godlike power. And now Orin has been stripped of that power, and Marcos has achieved a slightly higher version of that. And he's trying to achieve an even higher. And you have a slim chance of doing that. So, let's go ahead and move on to the first criteria: story. Now, I'm going to be honest. In my opinion, story is the most important part of any game at all. There are a few exceptions, like battle royales, other sort of just player versus player games, but when it comes to games like this where you're meant to keep playing, you're meant to go through the story, in my opinion, you just can't skip on it. And the story of Godfall is intriguing, and it is interesting. The idea of you being a powerful leader / warrior and being betrayed right off the bat starts it off interesting, and it makes you want to keep progressing in the story. However, I find that story starts to get muddled, and it starts to almost fade to the background, and you just kind of don't care anymore because of the whole idea and model of this looter slasher that they've chosen to go with. Not to say that it isn't there at all, but in my eyes, it took an almost drastic backseat because of how they decided to go about it. And I constantly found myself losing the passion to play because the story just wasn't there. But I did find other reasons to play because of this whole grinding for more gear, grinding to, you know, maybe find a new piece of like sword, or maybe a new, I think they're called charms. But honestly, even that wasn't a whole lot of a reason to continue to play, which honestly is sad, because it's very apparent to me that Godfall has a rich and vibrant world, which makes it apparent that it could have held onto some great stories. But as of right now, and as of what I've played, the story though has intriguing parts and pieces. I've yet to feel attached or a desire for Orin to succeed. So, quite honestly, what I'm saying is, I just didn't really seem like I cared if anything happened, or cared about anything. I just kind of popped in and was like, well, alright. I'm beating up this guy for... I don't know. I don't know why I'm beating this guy up. But the game tells me to. So, let's go. So, I really don't know what else to say about it, at least on the story part. But, let's go ahead and move on. Now, a lot of people, including some of you, might argue that this is, in fact, the most important part of a game. And, I'm not going to lie. It is important, but I still hold true to my story criteria. And honestly, when I started playing this game, I had one feeling the whole time, and it was, oh, this is cool, but this game does it better. Like, for instance, the most important part, combat. Yeah, you have different weapons, and each weapon has different abilities that you can use, and that weapon has a different animation than this weapon, which is cool. I'm not gonna lie. But you've got games like Destiny and Warframe who have a similar kind of style. In fact, actually, Warframe, in my opinion, is very similar because it's a grindy game. You grind to get loot. You grind to get materials to build loot. And on top of that, not only do you have guns, but you also have melee weapons. And that's what I kept finding myself comparing this game to. I was like, well, I feel like that's cool, but Warframe has this, and to me, it was cooler. And the reason why I kept going to that was, like, I know right now some of the gameplay footage that I'm showing you, I've primarily only used, I think, a longsword and some dual blade swords. I can't quite remember what they call them in the game. But, like, you only have two like, combo animations. You can light attack 3 times and then 1 heavy attack. And then you'll do a ground slam. And then there's a heavy attack combo, but it's so fickly and weird that it doesn't really work half the time. So that was a problem. I constantly felt like, oh, well, I guess I gotta do this combo over and over again to succeed. Or I need to use my abilities and just spam those and keep dodging so I don't die. But, I mean, what else can you do? I mean, that's what they gave us. Also, one thing I did notice as well in terms of gameplay slash, I'm going to count it in gameplay, is the mission area. every mission that I have done so far in this game, and I don't think I'm really early in, but I also don't think I'm very far in either. But every mission that I've done has been in the same area map. So every time I jump in, it's the same thing. I'm fighting the same enemies. I'm seeing the same places and collecting loot in those areas that are all primarily the same thing. I mean, honestly, the loot system is very ungratifying. I think I can only pick up 30 of the same uncommon longsword. And sometimes I might get a rare longsword, and it's the same style as all 29 of my uncommons. And it's like, oh, okay. But even then, I'm like, okay, well, can you give me something that I actually want, or something that's actually going to be cool? Instead of the same sword, but instead of gray, it's blue. It looks the exact same. And it only has a minor difference in power. Now, on to our third and final point. Audio and visual. If nothing else, Godfall is a gorgeous, gorgeous game. Visually speaking, Godfall is sharp, clean, and pleasing to the eye. I think I spent the first hour looking at all the different textures and animation of objects. And the world constantly going, man, this is amazing. This looks great. I'd run up to random pots and gold that was laying on the ground. I'd run up to shrubs and trees and go, holy cow, you can see that moving in the breeze. Or, look, you can see the cracks in the pot. I love the ray tracing and the different shadows and textures of like enemies and animals. It was fantastic. And honestly, that kind of brings me to, I think, my general feel of the game. I think that's what I feel about Godfall. It's a pretty game. But that's about it. Going on, I think I'm going to move on to sound and audio. The voice acting cast was interesting, to say the least. It wasn't until I checked online to see who voice acted Orin that I found out that it wasn't Liam Neeson. I'm not even going to lie. I thought for the longest time that was Liam Neeson. That guy sounds exactly like him, if not very close. It was kind of scary, and then I was kind of bummed because I was like, oh, but I totally thought that was Liam Neeson. But aside from the main character, I kept feeling like everyone else who was talking and acting as a character, they almost seemed kind of flaccid. Like, I know one character that I've encountered, and I understand that this person's like an entity or whatever. I'm not even completely sure what they are, but it's just every time I talk to them, it's just, hello, how are you? What can I do for you? How can I help? Okay, well, I have a sense of urgency kind of thing, you know? Now, as for the actual soundtrack of Godfall, I do like the music. I really do. But I kind of forgot it was there. See, here's the thing. In most games, music plays a fairly prominent role. In like a shooter, you'll be walking around, and then all of a sudden music will start intensifying. And then you're like, oh crap, I'm about to get in a big fight. Here, you kind of just have the same music going on. It might intensify, but if it does, I never noticed. Because you're constantly in one open area map, and there's enemies just randomly spread out, and you're just kind of always finding them. And so the music kind of just plays. So really, honestly, it's just, it becomes very subtle and just a background thing, which really kind of sucks. So, but I think now we need to get to where everyone came for. Where does Godfall score? Why does it score there? It's tough, honestly. It really is. I mean, Godfall was a PlayStation 5 exclusive launch title. It was supposed to set the bar for everyone else. And I've sat for probably hours thinking about it, and it's hard because I don't want to bash on the game because I do like the game. I think it's cool. But I think where it comes down to, gameplay and it being so repetitive and non-exciting, and then turn around and also having the story being so lackluster and just so dry and just nothing there. So, because I believe story carries the game, and it's so important, and because the gameplay just wasn't there, I think I'm going to say that Godfall is going to score out of a 1 to 10 system. I think it's going to fall into a 5.5. And I don't think I can score it any higher than that. It had great potential. It really did. But it just couldn't finish. So, if you're considering Godfall, do some more research. Check it out. Make sure it's your kind of game. And if it is, by all means, go ahead, get it. You know, if you're into those grindy games, for sure. But if not, it's my opinion. Hang on to your money. Wait and see what other games are coming out. You might find something a little bit fitting your style a little bit better. Well, guys, that's all the time I've got today. I'm going to go ahead and clock out. But before I do, be sure to subscribe to our channel, like this video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to hit that bell so you know when we're posting at all times. And don't forget, new video coming out Monday. I'll see you guys next time.